3 spine-chilling childhood horror tales, sinister secrets revealed from haunted memories. Emma adjusted the last box in her new kitchen, the faded scent of cardboard filled the air like a lingering ghost of her past. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, twisted shadows that danced across the pavement. The new suburban neighborhood, cloaked in a thick silence, felt as if it was holding its breath waiting for something unsettling to unfold. Flickering streetlights barely pierced the darkness, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the streets harbored secrets best left buried. Her kids, 10-year-old Lily and 8-year-old Max, excitedly yanked open the doors to their new rooms. But as she listened to their laughter, a soft giggle brushed past her ear, a sound that wasn't just theirs. Cold prickles skittered down her spine. Was it her mind playing tricks, or was there something truly sinister lurking in this town? Night crept in, thick as fog, absorbing the warmth Emma tried to hold on to as she joined her children on the couch. Through the walls, strange noises started to echo: the creak of old wood, the unsettling shift of furniture, and those damned giggles that made her heart race. She squeezed her eyes shut, promising herself it was simply the house settling. Her life had been chaotic, turbulent, and it was time for a fresh start, wasn't it? But then came the first chilling revelation. Max's new friend, Mr. Gray, emerged from his fantasies tall and cloaked in shadows, his intentions unknown. Just the name sent chills down Emma's back. Kids have imaginary friends, she reassured herself, but the way Max spoke of him sent her over the edge. He talks to me at night, Mommy, he whispered, eyes wide and innocent. Lily, usually composed, grew restless in her sleep, awakening from nightmares with screams that haunted the silent hall. Emma's heart raced as she found bizarre drawings taped to the refrigerator, each one illustrating events that mirrored her own childhood fears, the terrifying shadow figures from her bedroom that she thought she had long forgotten. Panic gripped her. Who was creating these connections? Suddenly, a voice broke her reverie. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Emma shook off the sensation creeping up her neck, her thoughts consumed by horror. It was partial ignorance, or was it denial? She began to connect dots that didn't add up. Nightmares and doodles, these were not just tricks, this was another layer to the dark fabric of their new home. That evening, as shadows deepened and streetlights flickered ominously, the neighborhood block party became a frenzied blur. Children played, laughter rose, but the atmosphere felt grotesquely hollow. Butterflies churned in Emma's stomach. She lost sight of Max frantic, she scanned the crowd, faces spinning into strangers as anxiety seeped into her veins. Max's absence turned from innocent mischief to dread. And then she spotted them friendly smiles, but in those moments, Emma felt like she was wearing a mask, unable to peel it back. The voices around her rose to a frightening crescendo, and for the first time in her life, she felt swallowed by the darkness that had been lurking in the corners of her new home. Time slipped like sand through her fingers, and in the frantic turmoil of her heart, one burning thought seared through her mind: what horrors awaited her in this suburban nightmare that had begun to gnaw at her very soul. Panic licked at Emma's insides as she maneuvered through the crowd, each smile feeling like a grimace, each laugh an eerie echo of something more sinister. She called out for Max, her voice rising above the laughter, pitched with desperation. The faces around her blurred, indistinct as icy dread settled in the pit of her stomach. As she turned, she could almost feel eyes tracing her movements from the shadows beyond the streetlights, whispers carrying a weight that made her breath come quick and shallow. Max! She cried, a knot of fear tightening in her chest. The chill in the air felt unnatural, a biting cold that knifed through her skin. Then she saw him, standing at the edge of the gathering with a group of other kids. Relief surged through her, only to drown in cold dread as she noticed the shadows pooling around him. "What are you doing over there?" Her voice trembled as she approached. He turned, the smile on his face wide but his eyes were vacant. "I was playing with Mr. Gray," Max said, his tone flat as if possessed by something otherworldly. Emma's heart slammed against her ribs, a violent rat-a-tat echoing in her ears. "What? No, you need to come back here." As she reached to grab his arm, a shadow flickered past, warping the air. It stretched before her, an elongated figure with elongated fingers that twitched like roots branching from a decaying tree, drawing her gaze. Max's laughter turned hollow, a chilling sound that twisted the laughter of the other children into taunting echoes. "It's okay, Mommy. Mr. Gray says I can stay." Emma's heart dropped. There was something wrong with her son, something deeply wrong. She struggled to pull him away, but the air seemed thick, resisting her efforts, planting her feet to the ground like a rooted tree. Fear clawed at her throat as Max leaned into the shadows. "Let us play more, Max." A voice coiled around her, slithering into her ear like a snake hiding in the grass. It was inviting, melodic, but beneath it lurked a sibilant threat that made her skin crawl. "Max!" she shouted, desperation spilling into her words. "You need to come with me right now." Suddenly, the crowd parted as if sensing the dark weight rolling in. Lily, standing off to the side, looked at her mother. The fear in her eyes mirrored the terror creeping into Emma's heart. With a forceful grip, she yanked Max, breaking whatever hold that figure had on him. The shadows hissed, and in that moment, Emma felt a rush of cold air whip around her, carrying the voices of disembodied laughter, fading into a chilling silence. "Why did you leave me?" Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "Mom, Mr. Gray is angry now." Max trailed off, the vacant look returning for a brief moment, almost as if he was being puppeted. Emma's chest tightened. The streetlights flickered violently, casting sinister shapes on the ground. Nobody else seemed aware of the shadow's pulse looming, clawing for attention in the distance, but Emma was acutely aware. She could feel them. It was as if reality began to fray at the edges, letting something vile seep into her world. "Let us just go home," Emma breathed, pulling both children close as they hurried away from the party. The air felt thick with tension, almost suffocating, an unseen presence trailing behind them like a hungry wolf. As they reached their house, she grasped the doorknob, heart racing, but a soft whisper floated through the stillness surrounding their home. "You can't escape me." Emma froze, the world tilting. Who or what was there? With her heart galloping and eyes darting to the shadows, a dreadful thought consumed her. What if Mr. Gray wasn't just a figment of Max's imagination? What if he was something more? A scream lingered at the edge of her throat, but as she turned to look back into the darkness, everything went still. Max and Lily were behind her, but deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning. What would she do when the shadows demanded more? The moment Emma stepped inside the house, the door creaked closed behind them with a sound like a coffin sealing shut. Shadows gathered, dark and oppressive, thick as smoke and heavy with foreboding. She could feel their weight against her skin, pressing down hard, almost suffocating. Emma's breath quickened. "We need to stay together," she said, her voice low but urgent. Max and Lily huddled close. They were small, innocent in a world now twisted and menacing. The hallway light flickered, casting alternating patches of light and darkness that danced like ghosts on the walls. "Mommy, Mr. Gray is still out there," Max whispered, and she shuddered. "No," she said, trying to sound firm, "that's just a story. There's no Mr. Gray." But deep in her heart, she felt that lie tremble. The air thickened, a tangible chill swirling around them. Emma pressed her back against the wall, her heart pounding like a war drum. Every creak and groan of the house seemed amplified, as if the walls themselves were listening. Shadows darted at the corners of her vision, retreating just when she looked directly at them. Was it her imagination? Or was the darkness alive? "Let us go into the living room," Emma said, attempting some semblance of normalcy. The children followed, their small hands clutching hers like lifelines. She led them to the couch, pulling them into the deepest corner, creating a fortress of cushions between them and the unseen menace lurking outside. As they sat, a strange hum started vibrating through the air. It wasn't electronic, just a deep, resonating sound that felt ancient and forbidding. Emma's heart raced. "Do you hear that?" She breathed, strained. Lily nodded slowly, eyes darting to the window, where shadows wrinkled the glass as if something was out there, watching. "What is it, Mommy?" "I don't know." Emma squeezed her daughter's hand tighter. "But we're safe inside." Max, who had become eerily quiet, suddenly let go and stood up. His movements were stiff and jerky. "It's coming from the basement," he declared, his expression transforming slightly, eyes bright but vacant again. "No way." Emma shot back. "We're not going down there." "But Mr. Gray wants to play." There was an unholy gleam in his eye, a flicker of something dark that sent ice through Emma's veins. "Max, listen." Emma's voice wavered, battling the instinctive chill creeping through her. "Mr. Gray isn't real. He can't hurt you." Lily whimpered, pulling Max's sleeve. The living room light sputtered, dimming to a murky glow where shadows danced like phantoms. Suddenly, the hum grew louder, vibrating through the floorboards. Emma held her breath, but as she looked at Max, dread coiled tight in her stomach. He wasn't her son anymore, he looked like someone else, someone who had stepped out of the dark. "Come play with me," he called, his voice higher now, drenched in a gleeful madness that chilled her soul. "No!" Emma shouted, standing up as terror verbalized itself. She backed away from him, her body screaming for escape. "You're not Max." In answer, a deep rumble shook the foundation, rattling pictures on the walls. The basement door creaked open, an abyss yawning before them. A whisper wafted out, seductive and haunting, "Come and play." Lily cried, "Mommy, don't let him go." Emma's frantic gaze darted between her children and the lurking dark where Max stood. "We need to leave now," she screamed, grabbing both of their hands. Yet, her feet felt heavy, as if the darkness was weighing her down. She glanced back one last time. The shadows swirled, alive and hungry. The laughter from the party was gone, and all she could hear was the chilling whisper of Mr. Gray, echoing through the house. Playtime has only just begun. Frozen in horror, Emma trembled as dread clawed at her heart. What would happen if they didn't escape? What was awaiting them in the depths of their own home? Could fear hold her back when the nightmares loomed so close? Emma knew they had to confront it, but did she have the strength to face whatever waited below? Every instinct screamed at Emma to run, but the shadows crawled closer, slithering around her ankles like mist trying to pull her down. She squeezed her children's hands tighter, as if their small warmth could fight off the creeping dread that threatened to envelop them all. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whispered, her voice a thread of fear that cut through the tension in the room. Emma's heart twisted. "I know, baby. We'll be okay, just stay close." But even as she spoke the words, her voice felt hollow, devoid of the certainty they desperately needed. Max stood motionless, his face a mask of confusion and something darker, something lurking just beneath the surface. She tried to reach for him, to pull him back into the light, but it was as if invisible hands were holding him in place. "Max, honey, please," she pleaded. The air around them thickened, pulsating with an energy that sent icy tendrils creeping up her spine. The not quiet basement door seemed to beckon them, a black maw that held mysteries and horrors. The humming sound intensified, vibrating through her bones. "Let us just go to the kitchen. We can lock the door and call for help," Emma urged, trying to channel courage into her words. But the shadows whispered her name, seductive and enticing. She could almost feel the presence of Mr. Gray, that faceless entity wrapping itself around her, promising safety in surrender. Suddenly, a flicker of movement drew her eye back to Max, and what she saw made her blood run cold. His expression shifted, a grotesque smile spreading across his face, childlike yet sinister. "Don't go, Mommy. We can have so much fun together." As if on cue, the lights above began to flicker more violently, and a low growl emanated from the deep recesses of the house. Emma felt the vibrations through the floor, a primal warning that her mind could barely comprehend. "Max, please." Her voice broke, panic rising in her throat like bile. But he didn't respond. Instead, he took a deliberate step toward the yawning darkness of the basement, his eyes locked onto something she couldn't see. She could feel the weight of his gaze, chilling and unnatural, and with every step he took, a part of her shattered. "Mommy, I can see him. I can see Mr. Gray." Max's voice was full of innocent glee, but beneath it lay something predatory, something that was not her son. "Stop!" Emma commanded, stepping forward, but her legs felt rooted to the spot, bound by invisible vines of fear. Her mind raced, grappling with the horrifying truth: they couldn't leave, not without confronting whatever Mr. Gray was. A surge of courage ignited within her. "Lily, follow me," she yelled, yanking her daughter closer and dragging her toward the kitchen. Max's laughter rang out behind them, sharp and clear, echoing like a taunt. The kitchen door felt like a barrier, a fragile shield against the terror lurking in the shadows. Emma flung it open, the light spilling out like a promise of safety, but her heart raced. Were they truly safe? The rhythm of her pulse felt like a countdown. Would Mr. Gray follow them? Would he take Max away forever? Without a moment to spare, she pushed Lily ahead. "Go. Run outside." But as he stepped into the light of the kitchen, Max cracked an impossible grin, claws of darkness still gripping him. "You can't go, Mommy. Playtime is just beginning." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She could feel something shift in the air, and then everything went still. The silence hummed with unspeakable tension, carrying with it a promise of nightmare and despair. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, her small voice shattering the stillness. In that moment, desperation flooded Emma's mind. They had to confront the darkness. They had to face the unimaginable before it consumed them all. Turning back toward the living room, she steeled herself. "I won't let you take my son," she shouted, the words roaring out like a battle cry into the heavy silence. But as their hands gripped tighter, she realized that confronting Mr. Gray meant staring into the abyss, and knowing what awaited them below could change everything. What if? The worst thing wasn't Mr. Gray himself, but what he could unleash. She pressed forward, determination hardening in her chest, knowing that the true horror lay just around the corner. And as the basement door creaked wider, the chilling laughter echoed in her ears, weaving itself into her thoughts, promising that the real terror was only about to begin. Emma's feet felt as if they were glued to the ground. Fear clung to her like a second skin, and a chill ran down her spine as she studied Max's twisted expression. He was still her little boy, but the thing she saw in his eyes was something darker, something she couldn't understand. "Max," she said, her voice shaky but determined, "please, just come back to me." She stepped forward, willing herself to break whatever hold the shadows had over him, but the shadows shifted, writhing, and something unseen pulsed in response to her movement. An unearthly growl rumbled from the depths of the house, its sound wrapping around her like a barbed wire, tightening with every heartbeat. "Mommy, don't fight it," Max sang, his voice echoing hauntingly as he tilted his head to one side. "Mr. Gray says he'll let me play forever." There was something off about that smile, a glimmer of something serpentine beneath the surface. Emma choked back tears. She couldn't lose him, couldn't let their lives be stolen by a creature lurking at the edge of their sanity. "Lily." Emma turned, grabbing her daughter's small hand. "We have to be brave. We have to find a way out." The kitchen felt like it was shrinking, walls closing in, suffocating her hope. But an almost magnetic pull emanated from the basement door, dragging at her resolve. The laughter behind her twisted into a symphony of terror, a chorus that pushed her closer to madness. It wasn't just Max's voice anymore, it was the echo of taunts, a tease of nightmares past. "Come back, Mommy," they sang, a twisted invitation. "Stay close, Lily. Do not let go," Emma shouted, inching them toward the exit. Fear clawed at her, fogging her thoughts. They needed to escape, but something inside her felt the gravity of whatever awaited them just beyond the threshold of that door. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into an abyss where shadows danced in manic jubilation. It felt as if the very walls were laughing at her, mocking her attempts to reclaim her children. For one horrifying instant, she feared the shadows would swallow them whole. "Mommy?" Lily's voice trembled, and Emma turned to find her daughter staring, eyes wide with terror. It wasn't fear for herself, it was the fear of losing Max, the brother she adored, and the hope of something rotten lurking beneath the surface. "Don't look away, keep your eyes on me," Emma replied fiercely, clutching Lily's hand. But from the corner of her gaze, she saw Max sway toward the darker recesses of the basement, drawn deeper into Mr. Gray's enticing call. "Max!" She screamed, "Please don't." What was happening to her family? With a knot in her stomach, she felt the pull of the shadows latch onto her heart. The basement door creaked again, wider this time, whispers slipping out like poison. The air was thick, saturated with despair, and a rancid scent clawed at her senses. It was the smell of fear, dense and suffocating, a certain finality in its grip. "Come play with us." The shadows hissed, their whispers melting into one another like heated wax, forming grotesque shapes. She could see them swim just out of reach, fingers, eyes, mouths all wanting to drag them into the abyss. "Max!" She cried out one last time, desperate. But he was lost in a cacophony of laughter, stepping further and further into the darkness. Emma's heart crumbled, she felt fragile, caught between her protective instinct and the realization that she might lose everything. With a surge of raw energy, she yelled, "I'll find you, Max." She twisted her body, tearing herself away from the shadows that curled around her feet. "I promise, I will bring you back." But as she moved, she caught one last glimpse of her son, now fully at the threshold of that damnable door where light faded into oblivion. The basement door began to slam shut, an ominous finality reverberating in the chaotic silence. A shudder ran through Emma as she lunged forward, heart racing, praying she wouldn't be too late, and then there was a scream, a piercing cry that vibrated her bones. Not just any scream, but a sound that clawed at her soul, unspooling her sanity in strands as darkness rushed in to claim its prize. "Mommy!" The echo lingered in the air, taunting her, inviting her to step into the unknown. A heavy silence set in, stretching her nerves taut. The other side of that door promised infinity or oblivion. Which one awaited her? Emma didn't know. But with each heartbeat, she felt the decision looming over her, a storm threatening to break. What would she sacrifice to get her family back? The door slammed shut with a thunderous finality, reverberating through the house like a death knell. Emma staggered back, eyes wide, the world around her spinning. Lily's grip tightened on her hand, fear radiating off her small body. "Mommy!" Lily whimpered, her voice small and fragile. Emma bent down, their foreheads touching, warmth mingling with the cold dread building in the pit of her stomach. "What do we do, Mommy?" Lily's trembling voice was laced with desperation. Emma opened her mouth to reassure her, but words caught in her throat. How could she promise safety when the shadows writhed around them, alive and hungry? "No matter what happens, we stick together," she said, forcing the words out. "We face this. We can't lose each other, okay?" Lily nodded, faith draped over her like a tenuous shield. Emma glanced back at the basement door, heart racing. The darkness beyond felt alive, pulsing with an insatiable hunger. Was Max really gone? The scream echoed again in her mind, raw and unyielding. It clawed at her sanity, reverberating like a ghostly calling. A flicker of light caught her attention, drawing her gaze. The living room lamp flickered erratically, casting strange shadows that stretched and twisted on the walls. It was as if the house itself was breathing, haunted by a malevolence that seeped into every crevice. "Mommy!" Lily's voice pulled her back. Emma turned, eyes catching the vivid watchfulness of her daughter, who fixed her gaze on the hallway. An unnatural draft snaked through the open door, brushing against Emma's skin like the touch of ice. "Stay close to me," Emma whispered fiercely, already inching toward the darkened hallway. With each step, the shadows lurked, clinging to her legs, relentless whispers curling around her thoughts like serpents weaving through brambles. The laughter transported her to nights filled with joy, but now twisted into something grotesque. As they moved deeper into the house, every creak of the floorboards echoed ominously, mingling with the whispers of the shadows, reminder that whatever lurked in the dark was not far behind. Mr. Gray." Emma called, voice quaking but resolute. "What do you want?" The name lingered in the air, thick and heavy, a palpable tension settling around them. The whispers fell silent, a pregnant pause enveloping the space. "Play, come play," a chorus responded, the sound a cacophony of longing and malice. Emma's heart raced. The shadows seemed to pulse, a dark tide converging. "Mommy!" Lily cried, and Emma jerked, a sharp breath escaping her lips. Her daughter was being pulled toward the living room where the shadows danced more vigorously than before. "No. Lily. Don't go." Emma lunged, pulling her back. But the shadows seized her, wrapping around her daughter's ankle, drawing her larger into their embrace. She felt the icy tendrils of darkness gripping at Lily, each moment a fight against an unseen force. "Stop!" Emma shouted, fear igniting her tone. She wasn't just fighting the shadows, she was fighting the despair within herself, a split-second choice spiraling into a chasm of dread. "Leave her alone." Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, a shriek of mirth that cut like glass. The basement door rattled violently, the spaces between time collapsing, waiting. Emma felt the beseeching tug of Max's presence call out to her, unraveling her focus. Lily panicked, her eyes wide as she felt the tug of shadows intertwine with her own limbs. "Mommy!" she pleaded, and in that moment, everything fractured. Out of nowhere, figures began to emerge from the darkness, hushed silhouettes with distorted faces, their smiles wide and unholy. Once shadows to be feared, now formed into the shapes of children playing games of agony. Their laughter swelled, drowning Emma's resolve. "Mommy, you have to choose." Lily's voice blended with the cacophony, pulling Emma from the encroaching madness. "Don't let them take me." Her heart tore at the sight. She was losing Lily, losing everything. And then she remembered the only way to save them was to confront what she feared the most. With every ounce of courage, she whispered a prayer, "I will find you. I will brave whatever this is." She faced the shadows, the laughter frothing around her, and shouted, "What do you want?" Their silence sent a shiver through her, and then, from the darkness, an answer cut through the stillness. "You must let one go. Which will it be?" The choice loomed, monstrous and muffled beneath spirals of smoke. A decision that would seal their fates and render her once again a mother torn between love and fear. As the shadows edged closer, Emma felt the weight of her heart ready to shatter. Her breath hitched, and she realized she stood at the edge of everything she feared, one step away from an unspeakable choice. Who would she save? The shadows whispered, coiling tighter around them, an insatiable force diving into Emma's mind. Each beat of her heart felt like thunder, echoing the chaos surrounding them. She could see it now, twisted faces, their eyes glinting with malice. Children's laughter turned dark, warped into something chilling as it echoed off the walls. "Lily!" Emma gasped, forcing herself to focus on her daughter. She could feel the warmth of her child's small hand slipping, snatched by the icy grip of the silhouettes. A wretched scream clawed at her interior, but she needed to fight. "I want to let you go. Mommy, please." Lily's voice strained, panic twisting her words just as the shadows twisted their limbs. The walls closed in, pressing against Emma as if the house itself craved her daughter. "Just let her go." Emma shouted at the shades, her throat raw. "You want me? Here I am." They paused in their advance, ethereal forms pulsating like smoke. "You know the game," a sinister voice dripped from the air. "Choose who stays, your love or your fear." Emma's heart sank. Was this some cruel, twisted jest? How could she ever decide between the two? Each second stretched as she stared into the abyss of those distorted faces. Memories surged within her, a swirl of laughter, bedtime stories, each moment painted in love but now tainted by terror. The shadows squeezed Lily tighter, but in that agony, a fleeting image broke through the haze: Max's smile, vibrant and whole. She had to save them both, had to claw through this madness. Enough! She screamed, and in that outburst, a shimmering light flickered behind her, a soft warmth spilling over her skin. The shadows recoiled, hissing angrily, breaking their grasp for a split second. "Run!" she cried out to Lily, desperately pushing her daughter away from the influence of the darkness. Lily stumbled but regained her footing, small feet carrying her toward the light. But the shadows surged forward, snapping at Lily's heels, their laughter morphing into a howling wind. "Choose! Choose!" they chanted, every syllable laced with a maddening glee that reverberated like a drum in Emma's ears. No choice at all. Emma's resolve hardened. If she couldn't save them both, then she would hold her ground. "You want me? You take me." The figures circled around her, hungry, grotesquely eager as Emma braced herself against the creeping darkness. Her mind raced, recalling every heartbeat shared with Max, every soft moment with Liliana, the unyielding love wrapped tightly around her spirit. Did the shadows think they could break her? Mommy Lily's voice trembled, wavering like a candle in a storm. The light flickered, and darkness danced menacingly behind her daughter. "Stay back!" Emma bellowed. The tension shut down her breath, but she pressed on, spurred by sheer will. "If you hurt her, you'll have to kill me too." A dreadful silence enveloped them, moments hanging in the air thick with despair. Shadows hesitated, then they converged, swirling around her, pressing into her mind, squeezing until memories blurred. Fragmented images, whispers of pain, surged through her like a flood that threatened to drown her hope, and then, a flicker of recognition: her love didn't weaken her, it fortified her. Liliana's name rang in her heart, beating fiercely as she poured every ounce of determination into a singular thought that broke through the haze: "I choose love." The walls trembled, a lightning crack sounding in the distant expanse of thunder. The shadows hissed, furious, careening away from the strength that Emma wielded. "Now, come on, Lily." Emma grabbed her daughter's hand firmly, their connection an anchor to pull them from despair's whirlpool. Together, they ran, plunging into the light, chasing a fragile hope as the house unleashed a spine-chilling scream, a wailing echo of the shadows that threatened to consume them. But just as they reached the doorway, dark arms stretched out to seize them, the basement door burst open with an explosion of long-held secrets spilling forth, shadows flinging around to unleash the unearthly onslaught once more. "Mommy! Look!" Lily screamed, her wide doe-like eyes glued to the chaos behind them. "They're coming!" Emma's heart raced, adrenaline surging through her veins. They had escaped the first wave, but the fight was far from over. With each step across the threshold, she could sense it: the looming darkness was finished, and neither were the choices that gripped her soul. What unearthly terror awaited them just beyond that door? Would she be strong enough to face it all again? Emma pulled Lily closer, the two of them stumbling into what was meant to be safety, but the illusion shattered quickly. The room before them was not a refuge. It was a chamber of forgotten nightmares, cluttered with dusty remnants of lives once lived: old toys, cracked memorabilia, and photographs with eyes that seemed to follow them. Max's smile flickered in her mind, a beacon of hope that dimmed as dread wrapped around her like a choking vine. She couldn't afford to look back, not now. The shadows were relentless, clawing at the edges of her vision. The air thickened, heavy with the stench of decay and whispers that rose like a cacophony only half recognizable, splintered phrases worming their way into her thoughts. "Help us," they pleaded, voices overlapping like ghosts lost in time. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily squeezed her hand tighter, her small body trembling beside Emma's. She could feel the icy brush of the shadows creeping in, attempting to sneak around the edges of the room. "Stay close to me, my love," Emma managed to say, her voice wavering. She scanned the room, taking in every detail, searching for a way out. There had to be something. In the far corner, a child's drawing lay crumpled on the ground, colors faded but unmistakably vibrant. Sunshines and happy faces attempted to pierce through the oppressive gloom. But the name scrawled beneath it sent a chill down her spine. Max Lily. No, no. Emma lunged forward, the shadows snarling as they smothered the drawing with their tendrils. An otherworldly howl erupted from them as if Emma had heard a deep, unseen entity. Don't touch that. With a flash of adrenaline, Emma kicked the shattered shards of memories aside, forcing her way through the chaos. The shadows writhed, twisting around her legs, dragging her down. Let her go. Lily cried, her voice cracking, filled with the raw desperation of a child who refused to lose her mother to the darkness. But Emma could feel the weight of eternity pressing in, the walls vibrated with phantom cries and sharp echoes that didn't belong to this realm. Each touch from the shadows felt like icy fingers sinking into her skin, sapping her strength. She could barely breathe. Who are you? Emma screamed, fury fueling her fear. What do you want from us? Your fear is the thrill of the hunt, and we will not let you escape too easily, the shadows hissed, the sound warping, as if a million mouths whispered the same words at once. Then, silence blanketed the space. The shadows hesitated, split apart momentarily, allowing a tantalizing glimpse into a fractured world beyond shapes suspended in dark water, twisted faces frozen in agony, and figures not entirely human. In that brief window, Emma saw Max, a younger version of him, lost and pleading. Mom, save me. I'm here. Max. Emma breathed, the name bursting from her lips. But before she could react, the darkness surged forward. It would not let her grab hold of that fleeting thought, that image of hope. Panic settled in her chest as she fought against the tide of despair. She was losing them both. I want to let you take my family. Emma roared, and instinctively, she shoved Lily behind her, preparing to shield her, willing to absorb any pain meant for her daughter. Suddenly, flames burst from the shadows, illuminating the room in a hellish glow. They ebbed and flowed, revealing more horrific visions of his past, the faces beyond the veil twisted into a grotesque gallery of suffering. What if that's not all you fear? One voice broke through, the original voice, soaking with malice and glee. What's to stop you from letting go? With that, Emma felt a sharp pain in her gut, twisting her resolve. What if the shadows were right? What if saving Lily meant denying her own truth? Mommy! Lily's cry pierced through her internal battle. Emma felt the glimmer of courage she needed to dig deep. I choose love. I choose to fight. But could love withstand the darkness threatening to pull them under? The walls around them trembled, and the shadows roared with renewed vigor, eager to pull them apart. As they enveloped Emma's body, she felt the fierce grip of terror strangling her. They would fight, but would they win? Or would the darkness have the final laugh? In that moment, Emma understood, the past wouldn't let go without a fight of its own. It was time to confront what she was truly afraid of. Lily, hold on tight. But the moment froze as the ground shifted beneath them, an unseen force dragging them further into the void. The sphincter of fate seemed to pulse, doing everything to separate them. Would they be torn apart by the shadows? What hidden fears awaited them within the black maw of the unknown? The ground trembled violently, a fierce shudder that sent Emma reeling. The shadows lunged, hungry tendrils racing to wrap around her limbs, drawing her deeper, further away from Lily. The room's walls seemed to pulsate like the very heart of darkness itself, echoing with the screams of unseen prisoners. Mommy, don't leave me. Lily's voice sliced through the chaos, desperation thrumming in the air. Emma felt the pull of the shadows tightening around her waist, like a noose that dug deeper with every heartbeat. Lily! Emma shouted, her voice laced with panic. She fought against the dark tide, muscles straining, but it was like trying to swim through thick, viscous sludge. Stay right there. Desperation coursed through Emma. She pulled away from the suffocating darkness, pushing outward, her fingers grazing the wall. Cold and rough, the surface felt alive, pulsing as if it was breathing in sync with the shadows. Suddenly, a burst of light flickered, illuminating the chaos for just a split second. Emma saw the faces again twisted, haunted expressions locked in eternal torment. They urged her, their mouths opening and closing silently, stretching in horror. "Run," one of them hissed. "Get out before it's too late." Emma's heart pounded. "I am not leaving without my daughter." With those words, a fierce flame ignited within her, swallowing her fear. She lunged backward, reclaiming her ground as she stretched her arm toward Lily. "Don't be afraid. I'm coming." But the shadows roared, an ocean of darkness crashing against her retreat. The air around them grew colder, her breath swirling like mist, and unlike before, the shadows were no longer just creeping, they advancing, intent on swallowing her whole. In that moment, she felt something, not a touch but a memory. A warm hand brushing against hers. It was Max. He used to hold her hand just like this when storms raged outside their home. Could the bond of love even transcend the darkness threatening to pull them apart? The walls quaked again, and from the corner of her eye, Emma spotted something glinting near the crumpled drawing. It was a small mirror, cracked and tarnished yet reflecting an image, the faces of a family that once shared laughter, love, and light. Her heart leaped. "Lily, look!" Emma cried, tugging at her daughter's hand, dragging her closer to the mirror, the last relic of their hope. "We can use this." "What do we do?" Lily trembled, her innocent eyes wide, reflecting fear. "We look beyond." Emma held the mirror out, turning her gaze to the shadows. "Your love, our love, is a beacon. It invites light into this darkness." As if answering her call, the shadows hissed with frustration, retreating momentarily, and in that brief lapse, Emma pressed the mirror forward, focusing on the reflection of their lives. Max, laughter, family dinners, all the moments of pure joy washed over her, wrapping her in warmth. "We are not afraid," she shouted, her heart hammering bravely. "You want to take us." The shadows snapped back, a furious roar shaking the ground, but Emma stood firm, fueled by memories that could ignite hope even in hell. Yet from the depths of the chaos, the dark voice returned, eerily calm. "Your love may light the way, but can it free you from the truth of your past?" The ground split beneath her, and Emma realized the truth of her past was the very darkness she had tried to escape. Images surged forth, unbidden, moments with Max that she had locked away, deep in her heart, clashing with the love for her daughter. Would facing that pain cost her the very thing she was trying to protect? As the shadows recoiled, whispering promises of despair in her ear, Emma felt the walls closing in, ready to devour them. "Lily," she breathed, eyes wide and torn. "We have to face it. Together." But could love really conquer all? Or would truth bind them tighter to the darkness? In that instant, the mirror shattered, its shards glistening like icy teeth against the encroaching shadows. Emma screamed as she felt the remnants of their hope slip through her fingers. "Mommy!" Lily cried as everything around them dimmed. The shadows rose, blocking out the last light. Could they navigate the cruel labyrinth of their past? Or was the truth lurking there, waiting to consume them whole? Emma's breath hitched as the last remnants of light faded. She squeezed Lily's hand, her heart pounding thunderous, echoing the chaos around them. With darkness pressing in from all sides, she felt the cold tendrils of despair threatening to pull them apart. Fear raged in her mind, but deep down, a flicker of warmth persisted, the love for her children glowing like embers in a dying fire. "Lily," she whispered, locking eyes with her daughter. "Whatever happens, remember we're together. Together is all that matters." Lily nodded, her small face wet with tears, but determination glimmered in her eyes. She trot beside Emma through this storm. It felt surreal, being on this perilous edge together, an alliance forged in unwavering love. The shadows cooled the air, thick and clammy, whispering promises of terror that clung to Emma's mind like dark fog. The echoes turned into taunts, slithered into every breath she took. Choose, the voice growled, swirling around them like a tempest. Your past, or your future. Neither. Emma shouted, voice cutting through the murky despair. Not without my children. The determination surged within her, warmth that shielded against the lack of light. The shadows recoiled, taut with her defiance, but they were relentless. We'll never let go. We can't, she continued, locking her gaze into the void. Every heartbeat felt pivotal, a promise made in the dark. Then, as if acknowledging the battle raging within, the shadows drew back momentarily, revealing the remnants of their past's a warped gallery of memories. Emma's heart dropped. She recognized fleeting images, Max laughing as he chased butterflies, Lily's first steps, every moment wrapped in love and joy but also the shadows of pain. No. She gasped, taking a step forward, fighting against the weight of guilt trying to drown her. Not this time. Clenching her fists, she pushed against the wall of horror. You won't take us. The shadows trembled, whispering doubts, pulling foul memories from the recesses of her mind, moments of loss, moments of regret. Each one wrapped around her like icy chains, threatening to tighten. With unyielding heat in her heart, she shouted, I face you. You have no power over my love. The words sent ripples through the dark, and she felt an unexpected rush of light pulse toward her, glowing around her and Lily like a radiant shield. Mommy, it's getting stronger. Lily cried, eyes wide with newfound hope. Emma could feel their love igniting, turning fear into strength. As the brightness intensified, Emma realized fear was merely a part of them, an untamed echo. They had to accept it to truly be free. Together, let us face it. The shadows writhed violently in response, recoiling from the light as if burned. But as they cowered, the ominous voice returned, smooth and sinister, whispering straight through her heart, but what will you sacrifice? The weight of those words hung heavy in the air, a noose tightening around Emma's throat. Memories flashed before her eyes, and her heart ached. It was time to uncover the truth, to embrace her pain. With trembling hands, she stepped toward the shadows swarming like dark waves. I want to let you define me. She proclaimed, the truth of her childhood bursting into the light. The shadows shifted, almost intrigued, as her voice rang with authority. I remember the hurt. I've carried it, but I want to let it drown my children. Suddenly, bursts of warmth poured forth, igniting the shadows, illuminating that dark space with crimson hues. They shrieked and howled, retaliating against the light. Yet courage surged within Emma. She refused to retreat. I choose to walk forward, with my fears, my darkness. And you will not touch my children. The light engulfed them, bubbling higher and higher, the shadows hold weakening with every heartbeat. Hearing Lily's chant in sync with hers countered the darkness. Together, they echoed, a united front against the tempest holding them. In that moment, the shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage and disbelief, a final, desperate push. Tendrils of darkness snatched at Emma, knocking her off balance, but she held on tightly to Lily, her anchor. Hold on! Emma shouted as the light became nearly blinding. The brilliance separated them from despair, forming a protective barrier that shimmered like the surface of a lake. And then, with one last surge, the shadows evaporated like vapor in sunlight. The room exploded with brilliant white, an all-encompassing embrace that enveloped them. Light swallowed the darkness, filling every corner with warmth. For the first time, Emma felt weightless, free. When the light faded, they stood facing the exit of their past, an opening to a world where shadows once lingered but now retreated in silence. They stood together, hand in hand, hearts beating unitedly. Emma knelt beside Lily, her palms cupping her daughter's face, brushing away the tears wetting her cheeks. We did it, baby, she murmured, pride swelling within her. We faced the fears and let go. The quiet of the room was now infused with sweet promise. As they stepped across the threshold and into the light of a brand new day, Emma knew deep down, life would hold shadows, but together, they could light the way through even the darkest nights. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you up at night. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find this wild journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think of their escape? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show how much you care by spreading this adventure. Your support means the world, and only true fans understand the importance of these actions.